Welcome to the Cave of Perception.
We're
We're
both
both
two
two
monks
monks.
going both ways.
So that was
So,
a very interesting story, Arthur. When you tell that story, you light up. Do you still live it as if it was something that you had been through recently, or does it seem like a far distant past to you?
actually, it's with me all the time. Not the actual everyday, but the several inflection points.
Mhm.
They're the same to me today as they were then. I remember the colors. I remember the trees. I remember the color of the wine that she was drinking with Alex and everything. It's that seared in. Those things are very very important, and I carry them with me because I'm also cognizant of the impression I make on others when they come to me for help, how I present myself and everything, and what kind of impression I want them to walk away with.
Mhm.
What is the first memory of me?
Mhm. Yeah, understood.
So so listen, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk about that. I really appreciate it. I would love to know not only your origin story, but how you came to your Chinese name and what it means.
It's not so. It sounds more dramatic than it is, but trust me. Try not to be picturing Peking prior to the Chinese Japanese War. Um, so I started off young kid in the San Francisco Bay Area, and around 6 years old, I lost both my parents, and so I lived with a half sister. Basically, she was 18, I was 6. We didn't really um, have much in the way of in common in terms of our life stages and all, but she was what I had to look after me, and so that's sort of what happened. One day, um, as a young child is wont, I was at school, and some of the teachers had known my mom, and so they kind of took me a little bit aside. They gave me little special tasks to feel like I was important. I was completely oblivious. It was lost on me. It wasn't like I was suffering. I really didn't understand any of it. But they used to make me work the projector, the reel to reel with the movie projector. And I remember there was a kid named Ryan. He was good at soccer, and some of the girls liked him or whatever. But we were 8 years old at the time, and he looked at me while I'm threading it. I'm just doing what I'm told. And he says, "Why do you always get to work the movie projector?" I'm like, "Bro, I don't even know. The teacher told me to. I do it." He's like, "Probably because your mom's dead." I'm like, "I don't think you should ever say that again." And he's like, "Well, at least my mom's not dead and rotting in the ground." And I didn't think, 8-year-old, I'm not sitting here contemplating Confucius. I just picked up a chair and desk combo that was in the classroom and hit him in the head with it as hard as I could. I had no idea if I killed him, if I don't know what happened. I just knew that, you know, I'm a monkey, and monkey's got a monkey. So I hit him in the head, knocked him out. He was unconscious. The teacher was actually a substitute, so you can imagine what kind of day he was having. He grabbed both of us, scooped him up under the arm because he's kind of limp and not really there, grabbed me by the scruff, took me down to the vice principal's office, and not more than you know 10 minutes later, I'm eating fleas off the carpet, in the middle of the office, like what the hell just happened? And so I kind of was coming to like, I don't know what did just happen. Like, what was that? And you know, I told him my truth. I spoke my truth to power. And the good thing is the kid didn't deny it. He's like, yeah, so what? I was like, thank God. Yes, you little heathen. So the vice principal was just like, you said that to a kid who lost his mom? And he was just like, what? He wasn't getting it. And so there was this back and forth, and then eventually he just basically said, look, I can't condone what you did. What you did was wrong. I'm like, I guess. I mean, it doesn't feel wrong, but I mean, I wouldn't have done it if I'd like known I was going to do it. And he's like, but at the same time, he looked at the other kid and he said, look it, man, if you ever say something like that to somebody, you can't expect that you're not going to get that reaction. I mean, that's just a reaction. And so he was like, I'm going to suspend you. He suspended Ryan for 3 days. I was told, hey, there's 45 minutes left, go home. Now, he's like, I'm not going to do any paperwork, just go blow off steam. You've been reprimanded. And I was like, oh, you don't get it, man. I'm being sort of raised by an 18-year-old who thinks the way you raise a child is, beat the hell out of them. This kid's gonna go home and play Nintendo for 3 days because his mom was a single mom working. So he wasn't gonna have anybody. He got no repercussions. I'm gonna get the hell beat out of me. So uh, there's a public transportation system in the Bay Area called BART, Bay Area Rapid Transit. So I went and got on a BART train. I had $1.20 of coins I was finding, and used to be able to sell soda bottles back to liquor stores, and they would give you a dime a bottle. So I would sell those. And so I had some scratch in my pocket, and I went and got me a little round trip, all day train pass, and I got on the BART, and I went into San Francisco. And thermodynamics is lost on an 8-year-old because if in the Bay Area, it can be 90 degrees. But if you get into the city, it's never above 65, just isn't ever above 65. And so I'm on the train, I'm in just a t-shirt and jeans. And I'm like, I'll just blow some time off. She'll never know. Again, 8-year-olds in their mindsets have no concept of time either. So if I had just hung around, she would have never known. Most likely, she wouldn't have even been home. But I was in damage control mode. So I got on this damn train, and I get into the city, and there's a stop it was going over all the different things you can get off at that stop. One said Chinatown, and I was like, I want to go to Chinatown. What's in Chinatown? So I go and I'm walking, and if you've ever been to the city, you see there are two big foo dogs. They're stone foo dogs, and there's a wooden arch. And I said, "Oh my!"
Beautiful.
I was like, "Oh my goodness, the land of kung fu!" Because the Shaw Brothers Kung Fu Theater on Saturday morning was everybody's favorite. I was like, "Yes." And so I walked around, and you see all the junk stalls, and you see the tea shops, and you see everything. And then I got to this little place, and I'm freezing. It was a very tall child, but I was a very, very thin child. I could go several days without ever seeing an adult. So, she could be gone 4 or 5 days and I wouldn't see her. So I would have to eat, whatever there was. Sometimes one time I ate a bag of brown sugar. Another time I ate a bottle of aspirin. Don't know why I lived through that one. But I was pretty hungry. And so I'm cold. I got no meat on my bones. And there was a restaurant, 4 big brass dragons. It was called the Four Dragons Restaurant.
Ah,
It's not that imaginative. But what drew me to it was there were fish tanks with a fish bigger than me. And I was like, so I went in to see the fish and also to warm up. And I'm in there and I'm looking at these fish and I'm warming up. And not a few minutes later, I hear a little voice behind me. And he was like, hey, you, pick up Che, come me. So I turned around and there's a bald man in saffron robes. He's got a tray of tea and stuff. And there's a little tray of cups right there. And he pointed to it. So I picked it up and we went over to the back where there was a staircase going down below. And that underneath was a basement level, but that basement was actually a Buddhist monastery. Now, don't be thinking Buddhist monastery like Kwai Chang Kang. No, sir. It was a basement, mind you. But there were big Buddha statues and the big, brontosaurus size incense and the bowls, and there was stuff on the walls. And there were 8 monks that lived there. Now, they were 2 Tibetan, 2 Chinese, 2 from Thailand, 1 from Laos, 1 from Cambodia. So you had 4 Theravada or Southern Buddhists, and then 2 Mahayana or greater school Buddhist sects. And none of them were legal. They're all illegal aliens. But at the same time, they're all refugees from the Cultural Revolution, the Tibetan occupation, the Thai coup of state that, killed a lot of people, or the killing fields, or the Khmer Rouge. So the thing about it, those type of places with illegal aliens is they don't use any services and they don't go outside of their closed community. So nobody knew they were there. Nobody cared. But the owner of the restaurant was a devout Buddhist. And so everything that guy did was, oh, I'm going to get merit. Oh, I'm going to wipe a lot clean. So he threw him some rice and vegetables from the kitchen, and they only ate twice a day, once in the morning and then once at noon. You don't eat after noon. And so we go down there and he's like, put shake down. I was like, I put it down. I just looked at him. I'm looking around like, wow, this is crazy. This is like a whole other world. And he looked at me and he goes, you're not boy working kitchen. Who you? You parents upstairs? I'm like, oh my God, he's going to eat me. He's going to kill me. I know it. He's just going to, oh my God, he's going to use some magical power on me. Oh my God. And he was just like, hmm. And when my master looked in your eyes, he looked through you. You couldn't lie to him, even if you could think to lie, even if you wanted to lie. He was looking at your soul. And I was just like, I don't have any parents. They're all dead. And he's like, why are you here? Tell me story. So he told me the whole story. I told him the whole story of how I got there. And he's like, so you know her sister. I'm like, I'm she probably at home. I don't know. But I should probably go. We call her. I'm like, shut up, you hard on him. You're gonna give me a beating. I'm trying to avoid the beating here. No, we don't have to call her. He's like, maybe you don't know the. Maybe you shut up. So I was like, here comes the pain. So he calls her, and I can't hear the whole point, but I can hear the tone on the voice. So she drives down to the city, which doesn't go as fast by car as it does by train, because trains go under the bay. So she finally gets there, and I'm like, I'm a dead man. While I was waiting for her, though, one of the monks was doing a form of kung fu. And not a flashy, not wushu, nothing like that, just training. And I looked at the kid and I was like, oh my God, if I die right now, this is the best day of my life. And my master was like, you do that? I'm like, God, I hope one day I can. That'd be the coolest ever. He didn't say anything else. And he's showing me all the things, and she shows up. And she's like, I'm really sorry. I'm sorry he gets into trouble, but we will take care of this. And he's like, I'm old man. I Buddha man. I don't. And he put on the real Charlie Chan voice, like he already had an accent, but he really Charlie Chaned it up for this one. He's like, I have karma. I don't do anything. End of my life. You're young. You have too much going. You maybe let him stay with me. I help him. I be helpful. I was like, what? Wait, this is taking a turn. And I could see the 18-year-old wheels in her head. She was like, well, I mean, we don't really have the money to pay for that. And he's like, no, I Buddha. I don't work for money. No, I help him. It helped me my karma. And she's like, what? He's like, you have your whole life. And so she was like, I mean, is this something that he could do, like a mentorship? He's like, yeah, like, okay, yes. So she's like, I mean, if you could help him, that would be really good. And she was giving all the best answers, And I mean, I could see that part of her was conflicted, but the part of her was not conflicted. And so, I was just like, oh my God, this man is a wizard. He's going to save my life. Holy cow. This is the best day of my life. And so from that day forward, I lived with him for 10 years. Now, don't think, wow, he saved him from being beaten. No, the man hit me with the stick for 12 years, 10 years. Please don't no. And you asked me about my Taoist name. I thought my Taoist name was Pinata for most of my time I was there, because he had a waxwood staff, and I was sure he was looking for candy. So, so Lao is simply the Romanization of my last name. Love it. It's just Lao, and it means old as well. And so it's like most people see Laosher and they go, hey, that's Laoshi. And it's like, no, Laosher is just an term of endearment. It means old teacher. But my actual name was Dalong. Da means big or long, and Dong Long means dragon. Only because I was so lanky and so like skinny and beanpole that I, by the time I was 14, I was taller than any Chinese person in Chinatown practically. And so that's where the name came from. So I didn't go by Da Long, as a teenager because, I was too cool for school. You know how it is. You're cool. So, but I kept Lao. And then, they traveled, eventually started teaching, and about 18 years old, after I'd been there 10 years, he asked me, because he was raised both Buddhist and Taoist himself. He was born to two Taoist priests from Hua Mountain. But at 6 years old, his parents had him on Song Mountain, which is one of the five sacred Taoist mountains, and they did his birth chart. And his natal chart said that he should be a monastic. And his mother, being a Taoist priest, but also a woman of Chinese descent, which is preeminently practical, she went, "Where's the nearest monastery?" Which happened to be a Chan Buddhist monastery. They knocked on the door. Master Buddhist, "Oh, Master Taoist, what's going on? Got a new recruit for you. This is my son, did his birth chart, says he should be a monastic. You've got a monastery. Nice as you please." And then he was like, "All right, son, you're a Buddhist." He's like, "What's a Buddhist?" "You." and he, he entered in he got entered there, and he was like, "See ya." And he jet, and they didn't come back. Probably went back to Wa Mountain, who knows? But so he had been raised Taoist up until 6, and then Chan Buddhism, which was the proto Zen, right? The Chan masters went to Japan and eventually get Zen. The difference between Chan Buddhism and Taoism would probably fit in a thimble. It's not really a dharma difference. It's really a method difference. And so his master said, "Look, you can keep doing the Taoist thing, but you're doing the Chan thing too. Just, put them together." Because Guan Yin is both a Taoist figure, which is Sahang, as well as a Buddhist figure, and Guan Yu thing. So he was raised both. And then he gave me the opportunity as I grew. He taught me both. And then he said, at 18, about a few months before I went to become 18, he said, "Look, you got to make a decision. You're either going to follow the path of the Buddha, or you're going to follow the Tao and be a wandering Taoist." And I was like, "All right, old man, what's on the table? What are we negotiating? What's happening here? What's good? What are we talking about?" He's like, "Well, if you become a Buddhist, you'll have to shave your head and not eat meat." I was like, "I mean, what's a pork chop really? Really? I mean, it's like, I guess." He's like, "You'll have to chant the sutras." I'm like, "Oh shit." Pali and Sanskrit, fine. Chinese Mandarin chanting, I don't have the mouth for it. I can't do it. I'm horrible. The Baptist got watermelon, right? It was, when you're singing, nobody knows you're not actually singing. Can't do that with Mandarin. So I was like, "I guess fine." He's like, "And you'll have to be celibate." I was like, "You know what, old man? It has been nice. It has been great, but I feel the Tao Khan." So I became a wandering Taoist. I traveled about 50 different countries over 22 years, studied with a lot of different people over those years. About a year after I left the temple, my master went back to China, didn't tell me. I didn't find out for a year after that. And then when I found out, he died. He just sat down and left and didn't tell me, because that's what he does. And so about 22 years later, I was footloose and fancy free. I was enjoying my life as a wandering Taoist. Nobody knew me and I knew nobody. It was good. And then I was in Chinese medicine school. My master had taught me Chinese medicine while I was in the temple, but you just can't say, "Hey, my master taught me." You got to. So I was in medicine school, and I got met by a guy, and he was like, "We're doing a thing." I ended up being ordained a monk. I was like, trying to avoid it. And then a few years later, I ended up at the same temple that Arthur, you yourself ended up at, and I ended up a Taoist priest and abbot. Bob's your uncle, something, something, reason, logic, and here I am.
We both wound up there by sheer coincidence, right?
Coincidence. Of course.
Right.
It's gotta be coincidence. But I think
That's an amazing story.
I think we both agreed that the reason why we ended up leaving there the priests and disciples of hers, that smile will melt you. I don't care how hard your heart is.
She's amazing. The first time I met her, I was not in the best place in my life. I wasn't in a bad place, but I was in a difficult place. And she said something, and again, I don't know Chinese, so I listened to it through an interpreter, but it wasn't exactly what she said. It was something she did. I have no idea to this day. And this weight was just lifted off of me, and it was just the most amazing thing in the world for me. I'm like, how did you do that? What did you just do? She just smiled at me, laughed, and kept going and everything.
What was the name of the teacher?
Zhang Xin.
Yeah.
Zhang Abbot or Abbess. Ming is the 20th generation Dragon Gate lineage name, which means bright. Xin is heart. So bright heart or 20th generation priest. But she's the abbess of the Qingshan Mountain Taoist Temple, which is the very first temple ever. It was created in 142 AD by Zhang Daoling. And then she's also the Secretary General of the China Taoist Association, which the only person above her would be the minister himself.
All 4'11" of her.
All 4'11" of her. And but that 4'11" fills up a whole temple, let me tell you, real quick.
Way quick. And yeah, when she speaks, everybody listens. Everybody. It's just the most amazing thing. If we have a second, I just want to tell you my first meeting with her, where this woman basically, there was an entourage of Chinese people that brought me to her. And again, I didn't know the temple. I just came to China with one of my students. And she sat down, she talked for about 15 minutes, and then out of nowhere, turns to me and says, "Look at this man." And I'm like, "Who?" She's like, "You can see he's doing the right thing. He's a true Taoist. I have X-ray vision. I can always tell." And everybody shut up in the whole place. And it was a very cool. I mean, I was in a state of shock because this little woman just like did that, but it was very, very cool. I mean, she's just got an amazing presence.
Absolutely. Yeah, I had taken students to China, which I hadn't even wanted to take it. It was offered to me by a friend. "Hey, you want to go to this Taoist temple there?" I was like, I mean, I can go, but I don't think the students are going to care. Who the hell in America would know what a Taoist is, much less care? So I told the students, "Hey, you guys want to go to China to a Taoist temple?" They're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Why? That seems so stupid." Okay, fine. So we took them to China. We're all sitting there. There's the room where everybody's met, and she said, the interpreter said, "Hey, she wants to talk with you alone as a shifu." And I started talking with her, and she's like, "Well, tell me about the Tao. Tell me about this." She's just asking questions, and then she starts talking in Chinese to the interpreter for a few minutes, and he says, "Well, she was going to string you along for 3 years, but she wants you to be a shifu, and she wants you to be."
Yeah, that's what she said to me.
Exactly. She's like, "I want you to be a shifu. I want you to, to bring these students. Whoever you ordain is ordained here." And I was like, "Oh no, nobody here wants to be a Taoist. They don't know what that means. They don't care about that. They're just here because it's a temple. It's a trip. It's a field trip. She's like, "Come on." So she just starts walking, and so we start following. I'm like, "Oh my God, this is." I've not had a collar with a little leash on it, and I was like, "Okay." So we get downstairs, and where the students were, and she's like, he's going to be my disciple and a priest, and how many of you want to be a student?" Everybody's like, "Me." I was like, "Shut, Benedict, et tu, Brute, et tu." She's like, "It's settled." I'm like, oh, I had gone so long walking between the raindrops, and now here I am. They betrayed me.
What is that line in Kung Fu Panda? You will meet your destiny on the path you took to avoid it.
Exactly right. Exactly. I was just like, "Oh, kill me now. But it's been great ever since. And I wouldn't change that, but it had to happen by coercion because I wouldn't have voluntarily done it.
I wasn't expecting it either. In fact, I had no idea about it. I just basically followed Chinese people. They said, "Get in the car. We're going somewhere." All right. We'll do that. I mean, as I said, I say yes. That's maybe the problem. I wound up in really weird places in my life because I say yes. But let me quickly tell you a cool little story that she told me the last time I was there. You obviously know the Cultural Revolution, right?
Yeah.
Where they destroyed a lot of temples and they destroyed a lot of teachers and they cut a lot of their lineages. And what she told me is when the mob came to the temple to destroy the temple, her master, what he did, he wrapped the statues and the doors of the temple in communist slogans. And the mob would not dare enter or cut the slogans or touch the statues because they were wrapped in communist slogans.
A talisman's a talisman, no matter how small.
But isn't right there in action? I mean, the best freaking example. I mean, and she talks a lot about her master, how cool he was.
Yeah.
I'm going to interrupt you guys for 1 second because I have a question.
Mm.
How did the two of you meet?
Well, there we were, Da Nang in '69 on the Mekong Delta. I was a black nun then. War changes a man. And Arthur came sauntering up to the bar. He gave me the look.
So our master, for the lack of a better word, the high priestess, she basically said, you two should know each other, talk to each other. And she gave us a couple of more students and they didn't work out. But the two of us did work out.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it always goes.
So how do you guys work out?
In terms of how do we get on, much like whiskey and ice cream. It is possible, but you have to use your
A whiskey float? Is that what you're talking about?
I mean, it's a thing. It's a thing.
Wow. I'd like to know which one of us is bitter and which one of us is sweet then in your analogy.
You are the sweetest.
Oh,
You are the sweetest.
thank you so much. Oh, you're going to make me blush. In fact. So Lao and I started talking just here and there. And then Lao did a cool thing and jumped on a plane and came to visit me in LA when I had my temple there. And it was a great weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a fantastic weekend. Best part of that weekend is, one, his wife's an excellent cook, but Arthur has this switch. When he eats, he must go for walks afterwards. It's the coolest thing in the world. I was like, how can you not like a guy who goes for long walks on Venice after every meal? So it's like, it is the best. He's got this great natural flow. It's amazing.
Thank you, Lao.
You're welcome.
And Lao, what he did was he taught my daughter how to go to the bottom of the pool and hold her breath. That was very, very cool. If you've never seen Lao actually in the water, he is absolutely amazing. It's a beautiful, beautiful sight.
One does what one can.
What kind of swimsuit does he have on?
Who says
Wow.
this swimsuit?
I was just focused on his nipples. I wasn't focusing on the swimsuit.
So what brought you guys together in making these videos, the 2 monk videos? What is it that, what was the seed that got planted between the two of you?
Really no plan, because if we try to plan it, we'll screw it up because we're not that bright. But it really is about, we see things from so many different ways, and we don't take any one view of something as if it's real. We just take it as it's a view. And so we can be agonistic or antagonistic, but neither one of us get defensive or get aggressive, or because they're just views, and not one of them's right, not one of them is wrong. They're just views. And we thought, given the state of the world and all, we figured, well, we better stay out of that morass. We might as well make our own. And so these videos are a way to, if somebody's crazy enough to pay attention, to help people to learn that there are different views, there are different ways to look at everything. And depending on whether you're married to your ideology or not, you could probably learn something from taking the Socratic method and looking at, the other side too.
Right. And also that you don't have to take these things so seriously.
Mhm.
right? You can make fun of them, you can have light with, you can play around with them and everything. And the end of the day, it's just all a matter of what works for you. It either works for you or it doesn't. And if it worked yesterday, it doesn't mean it's going to work today. So you might as well pay attention.
Yeah. Yep. That's the Taoist law. If there is one, there's one law that says maybe context is everything. So what's the context?
It, it's like the story with the farmer, right?
Exactly. Exactly so. Exactly so. But other than that, showing that even though you don't see what the other person sees doesn't mean you have to disagree, or even that you have to agree. And even if you disagree, doesn't mean that you can't love the hell out of each other, but you got to look past their ideology as if that's somehow them, because all ideologies grow, evolve, change. Read Dostoevsky sometime, you'll see.
Please don't. I tried to read that in the original. It gave me a massive headache.
The Grand Inquisitors. So I'm gonna.
Now, Master and Margarita is a better book to read instead of Dostoevsky.
So I just want to do a lightning round. Okay, we're just gonna do something just real quick. So, Lao, your favorite color?
Cyan.
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 That's a color.
Cyan. Is
Yeah.
that like burnt?
Blue.
It's blue.
Blue.
Okay.
It's
Arthur.
not just
yours.
blue.
Lavender, like my shirt.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Lao, favorite movie?
Fight Club.
Arthur.
When Harry Met Sally.
This is fun. Okay, Lao, your favorite TV series?
The A-Team.
Arthur.
Night Court.
I love Marky Post. Amazing.
You know who I really like? Dan Fielding.
Oh yeah.
John
yeah.
Larroquette.
Yeah. John Larroquette is amazing.
Lao, favorite place to visit or travel?
Jakarta.
Interesting. I never knew that about you.
Well,
And Arthur?
Italy.
Lao, favorite food?
well, it's obscure. Most people really wouldn't like get it, but a good borscht. Who can turn out a good borscht? Helga made it for me.
Arthur. Does Arthur know about Helga?
Not yet.
No?
Not yet.
I'll be honest with you. Anything my wife puts in front of me.
Yes.
That is
Fantastic.
very sweet. That is really sweet. Yeah.
Mostly anything, depending on her mood.
So, Lao, if you had something that you could do over again, what would it be?
I would do my life over exactly the way it was done. I don't have no regrets. I have nothing that should change. And it's a hard thing for people to understand because they think of tragedy as, oh, I wish I could do that over. I don't. I have no regrets. Nothing that's happened in my life I would change, from the great to the really, really painful. I've come to learn to not just accept and allow all of those things, but I've really come to see the value and the gift, even to the fact of the death of people that I love very much. I wouldn't change that. In fact, if someone tried to change it, I would stop them. I wouldn't allow. I would make sure that that's happened. It's been one of the greatest gifts that's ever been given to me.
Arthur.
God damn it, Lau, you're a hard act to follow. But the answer is actually ditto. And honestly, I love where my life is. I love who I've become. And if any single tiny thing changed, it wouldn't be me sitting here.
Yeah.
And more importantly, I wouldn't have the child that I have right now. And that would just destroy me if I had to change that. So no, absolutely nothing.
Okay, I'm going to ask another question, somewhat similar in a different way. If there was a moment in your life that you could relive again fully, just to be able to be there again, what would it be?
It would be the day that I walked into that restaurant to really understand how that pivot would alter irrevocably everything I knew of the world, or would come to know of the world. I would be more present for that.
Arthur.
I think it would be the first night my wife and I spent together.
Nice. All right, we're going to end it there, you guys. Thank you. And we are going to invite people to please like this video or these videos. Please subscribe, because we've got some really good things coming in 2021. And yeah, thank you both. And we will see you. Take it easy.
Thank you so much.